Hey there, you're welcome to Skilldemy. In this video, we are going to look at two key issues: population and sample size, especially when it comes to research methodology. These key issues keeps confusing people, and sometimes people tend to interchange them. But of course, today we are going to demystify what they truly are. If this is your first time, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our page so that when we post any educative contents on research methods and data analytics, you'll be the first person to be notified. What do we mean when we say a population? So a population basically means every single unit, every single thing in the scope of your study. Every single unit, every single thing that falls within the scope of your study. So it has to do with everyone, everything that is covered by your scope of study. When we say a sample is basically the part that you take from the whole. So the whole is your population, and the sample is the piece that you take from the whole, so that you actually study that. Now, let's look at some illustrations. Let's look at some illustrations to make the differences between a sample and a population a bit clearer. So let's say we are a bank, okay, and we want to run a survey on customer satisfaction. Now, the customer satisfaction that we want to run it on, it is based on the generalizability or the entirety of our customers. Our customers, some of them are farmers, some are lawyers, some are teachers, some are judges, some are consultants, and all that. They make our population. Okay, so those people make the population. So this becomes our population. All right, this becomes our population. So the entirety of our population refers to all our customers. We want to find out how satisfied they are. But you see, because it is not possible to get all our customers to answer our survey, we need to pick people who are easily accessible or easily available to give us the information that we want. Okay, and that is where the sample comes in. So the sample would be a representation, a piece that we are going to pick from the whole. So for instance, in this way, we pick one person, maybe from a bank. We pick another person who happens to be a barber. We pick another person who happens to be a teacher. We pick another person who is a lawyer. Then we pick another person who happens to be a consultant. All these people are a representation of the overall population. So, like I said, our overall population has to do with the entirety of our customers. Then the sample refers to those that we have selected from the entirety or from the whole that we want to observe. So they become our sample. Okay. Now, the understanding is that in as much as our population is 23, the sample that we are going to pick, because it is a piece that we are taking from a whole, it is going to be smaller than the population. So at all times, populations are bigger and samples are smaller. Okay, so we have 23 people from as the entirety of our population, but when we pick the sample, we have only selected 5 from the 23. And the 5 becomes our sample. And it is the 5 that we are going to study on. It is the 5 that we're going to observe. It is the 5 that we're going to run our research and our analysis on. Now, there are reasons why we sometimes try to use sample and not the whole population. And one key reason is that it is practically impossible to study the entirety of the population. It is impossible, and that is why we use a sample to represent the whole. But then there are some dangers that we need to take a look at. And one key danger that we must be sure of and be certain that it does not happen with us has to do with bias. So the problem is that when you pick a sample that is biased, you are going to get a biased conclusion. Okay, so if your sample is biased, your conclusions are going to be biased, and that is going to collapse your whole argument. So at all times, you need to ensure that your sample that you are selecting from the whole, which is the population, is balanced and not biased. You can actually adopt the Taro-Yamani's 1967 formula in calculating your sample size. There are other ones like the Cochrane's and some other accepted ones. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.